What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo. And today we're going to talk about Deadpool, who I am pretty disappointed with. I was initially wrong about what I thought that Netmarble was going to do with this guy. I really thought they were going to maybe give him some peers, make him, OP in some way against Null, because this is Marvel Null 5. We want characters that can take on Null. And they recently sold the Holiday Deadpool uniform last Christmas. A lot of people picked it up because it was an OP uniform. It destroys World Boss, but it still couldn't destroy Null. So the hopes were that this uniform that we're looking at right now was going to be able to do it. But it can't. Now, obviously, if you have Pierce and crazy cards, yeah, it can. A lot of characters can clear Null if you have that kind of stuff. But if you don't have crafted cards like me, but even still have a good build, you're still not going to get it done, unfortunately. Now, they did do a few things for this uniform. Before we touch on this, I do want to touch on the fact that in the uniforms, you can get the white uniform by leveling up all these uniforms. And I think that kind of sucks, actually. I really wish they would have gave us the option of having the black or white in here. That way, if you bought the white uniform and then you leveled up all these, you'd get the black, or vice versa. That would have been a lot better than just, making it like this, because a lot of the players that wanted the white uniform, now they're like, crap, I got to buy the black uniform, which I didn't want, and I got to level up all of these just to get this. And I think that sucks. It would have been a lot better if Netmarble in the future would give us the option. If they're going to give us two color different uniforms and the stats aren't different, there's nothing different about them, just give us the option to choose what we want to pick up. But I personally do love the black uniform. I think it looks awesome. I'm really, really loving it. And they changed quite a few things for this guy. His tier 3 is the same. His tier 2 passive, they actually increased his skill damage. Now it's 40%. It was 32%. So that's actually really good that they did that. The first skill didn't have an ignore iframe. And I'm talking about comparing to the Holiday Deadpool uniform. It didn't have ignore iframe. Now this one does, and it's on a 3.5 second cooldown. And it does have a 1 second paralysis, which is something else that the Holiday Deadpool uniform didn't have. But they did take away the all defense down from this skill. And I'm actually glad they took away the all defense down, because when you have multiple skills that have all defense down, and you got one skill that does 80%, another skill does 55%, if you apply the 55% first, you're not going to be able to get that 80% all defense down. It's just going to be 55%. Whatever the first all defense down that you hit the target with, that's the one that's going to apply. That's the cap that you're filling. So you want the highest all defense down to hit your target first. Then you can use your other all defense downs to fill up that cap quicker. So I'm actually glad that they removed it. But unfortunately, with this uniform, it didn't really seem to help. By the way, this does scream PvP. I did try out Deadpool in PvP. He could definitely get some kills, but I don't think he's a meta by any means. But to be fair, I was using a CTP of energy. I still don't think he's going to be a meta, but maybe you might want to pick this up for PvP. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. His second skill has a stun, but it removed the crit buff from the Holiday Deadpool uniform, and the Holiday Deadpool uniform only had a 1 second stun. So they increased the stun by 1 second and took away the crit rate buff, which is fine actually for this uniform, considering what they also did for it. The third skill gives us a 7 second super armor and 3 seconds of stun and a damage proc for 50%. This is a much better skill than what it was before. With the Holiday Deadpool uniform, we had all defense down, we had a 2 second stun, and we had 2 seconds of super armor. So they added 5 seconds of super armor. So that means when you do this skill, you're not going to get interrupted unless it's a purple attack, an attack with penetration, and you get a damage proc that you can use on your other damaging skills. That's pretty freaking cool. And then a little extra stun doesn't hurt for some CC and Shadowland. And then the fourth skill, they actually increased the all defense down from 55% to 65%. They also gave him incapacitation, and they also increased his attack buff. So now he has 30% attack buff, all speed by 15, and crit rate by 30% for 8 seconds. This is massively better than what it was before with the Holiday Deadpool uniform, because it had 15% attack and it had 6% crit rate on a 5 second cooldown. This is on 8 second cooldown. So, and it's on a 9 second cooldown. The skill's on a 9 second cooldown. So you can keep it up for the most part. However, the problem is the fifth skill. This thing has a long cooldown. Look at that. 21 seconds. Cut that in half. That is a 10.5 second cooldown. Holy crap. That is freaking crazy. And this is something that really hurts this character, big time. The fact that they gave him such a long cooldown means that you're not going to be able to use this skill as often as what you'd want to. And when you're facing Null, this is the skill you want to put your proc on. When you're facing regular world bosses where all defense down applies, it isn't. You want to put the proc on the 4 skill, and I'll explain that further in a little bit. But they did also lower his immunity on this uniform compared to the Holiday Deadpool uniform. Now it's 5 seconds. Before it was 7 seconds. But the all defense down is still the same, up to 80%. The passive here is also better. Now we get a 65% recovery of max HP, where it was 45% before. And this is actually much better. You get a better heal, it increases survivability, and the leadership is exactly the same. Now, when you're playing against Null, and I really don't think you're going to be using this uniform against Null, unless, or even using Deadpool against Null, unless you got some crazy card stats and lots of Pierce. But if you don't, and your cards aren't crafted, then you're not going to want to be using him against Null. So the rotation against Null is pretty simple. It's just 3, 4, 5. And you can cancel that 4 immediately. You do get the maximum damage proc, or not the max, but the maximum attack buffs immediately, which is nice. And he does have a super long cooldown on that 5, but by the time that 5 finishes, you still have about 4 seconds. That's 4 seconds you got to run around, goof off, so you don't get killed. Now against Null, that's not a big deal. It's pretty easy to avoid most of his attacks. However, against regular world bosses, it isn't. And against regular world bosses where all defense down applies, the reason I mentioned earlier is that you want to do 3, cancel 5, delay, then 4, is the all defense down from the 5, you don't get immediately. This is a big difference between the Holiday Deadpool uniform and this uniform. The Holiday uniform, you get the all defense down from the 5 immediately, plus the skill just carries on. Whereas with this skill, it doesn't. You can't just cancel the 5 immediately and get all the damage from it and get the all defense down from it. If you cancel the 5, you don't get the all defense down from it. So if we click on the all defense down, as soon as the screen stops moving all over the place, you see we're just getting the 65%. And we'll just wait a little bit here. But if you hit the 5, shoot your guns, boom, then go into the 4, as soon as the bullets hit your target, then your all defense down from the 5 will apply. See, now you got the 80% and you're getting the 65% from the 4 skill. So when you're doing your rotation against world boss, you'd want to go 3, 5, shoot the gun, then 4. As soon as the bullets hit the target, you'd go in your 4 skill and put the proc on the 4. And he will do really good damage, even comparable to Holiday Deadpool uniform. Actually, if this uniform was at Mythic, we might even do a little bit more damage than the Holiday Deadpool uniform. However, because of the long cooldown on the 5, because you have to let the 5 hit the target, a lot of times it will trigger the proc. And if it triggers the proc, you really just want to let the skill play out on the 5. If it triggers proc and you go into the 4, you're going to cancel your damage proc. And it really, really sucks. So 3, 5, 4. Now the bad thing about what I just did is when the 5 hits the target, you're actually canceling the damage proc from the 3. So look at what I'm doing right here. We'll just wait for a second, we'll wait for us all defense down to finish. You hit the 3, boom, 4, 5. Now look, we have the damage proc. It's engaged on the 5th skill, right? But you will actually do more damage if you just do the 5 cancel 4. So if you do the 5, shoot your guns, then go into the 4, you'll actually do more damage when all defense down is applied. Now against Null, it would be 3, cancel 4, cancel 5, put the proc on the 5. Against regular world bosses, you still want to use the 3, cancel 5, shoot your bullets, hit your target, and then go into the 4, because you're still going to get the residual damage from the 3. Even though you're not getting the damage proc, you're still going to get those bombs exploding on your enemy so you can do more damage. And because of his long cooldown, it makes it very difficult to play. He has a fully awakened power of Angry Hulk set, he has a CTP of energy, and by the way, I really think a rage is going to be better because of this long cooldown. I actually think it's going to be better. Plus, Deadpool does have guaranteed critical rate, and that's going to synergize really well with the rage, just to let you know. And as far as the uniform bonus, you know, we do have the extra HP, whereas the Holiday Deadpool uniform had less HP. I think it was, let's see here, 10%. And then we got 50% guaranteed dodge rate. And with this new uniform, we have an extra 5% more dodge rate, which really would help survivability. So the uniform is really catered to having more survivability. You got the ignore iframe, you got a super long iframe on the 5 and long iframe on the 4, so it really looks like he's built more for PvP. Again, though, I did test him in PvP, and I just wasn't that impressed. He was okay, and I could get the kills, but I just don't think he's going to be meta, guys. I just don't think he is, and I don't think he's worth buying for PvP unless you really just love Deadpool, and that's always a given with any uniform you buy. So stage 99, I'll show you guys the two rotations with Deadpool here to show you the damage difference. And we got Holiday, and we got White Fox, of course, for the 40% increase all debuff effect. That way we can get 100% all defense down. So the first rotation I'll show you guys is 3, cancel 5, cancel 4. This is a rotation where you'll get the proc from the 3rd skill on the 5th skill. So here we go. And by the way, you're going to see how fragile he is too, even with his extra HP. So 3, 4, 5. And so we did a little over a bar with that rotation. Now let's try this next rotation and see what he does. But again, whenever you do this next rotation, a lot of times the proc will trigger on the 5. So just like I said earlier, we're going to use the 3rd skill. Even though we're not going to get the damage proc doing it this way, we will get the exploding bombs that's going to do all that extra residual damage while the proc is engaged. So here we go, and we'll do the 3, 5, 4. And look at this, guys. I mean, look at that. That's a pretty big difference when you're doing it that way. You're doing quite a bit more damage when you're doing it that way. Now, something I want to show you guys is, you just saw how much damage we did, right? So now that we've confirmed doing 3, cancel 5, delay, cancel 4, does the most damage. Now, let me show you what Holiday Deadpool uniform does. So we'll switch to her. And remember, this uniform is at Mythic, so it does have quite the advantage. But I can tell you guys right now, I'm not going to level up the new Dawn of X uniform. I'm just not. I don't think I'm going to need it ever unless I start changing my cards and start adding Pierce. So that way, Deadpool could do null clears. There we go. And it's just 5, 4. So you see, this uniform did a little less, right? A little less, but the proc did come late. It actually does about 2 bars a lot of times, but sometimes when I did the Dawn of X uniform and I do the method I showed you guys, I would still get 2 bars. The damage is pretty close to the same, although Holiday Deadpool is better because, one, you don't have as long a cooldown. You got a 9-second cooldown on the 5. It's easier rotation because you're doing 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. It's just easier. And you're not waiting as long. You're not waiting for the cooldown to finish on that 5th skill from the Dawn of X uniform, so you can run through your skills. It's a more difficult uniform to play. Let's go ahead and try against Null and see what we can do there. So first, I'll just show you guys Holiday Deadpool uniform. We'll use Valkyrie here, and we'll have some ignore dodge strikers. And I'll show you guys how much damage she does. And I'll just do one rotation, just show you guys how much damage we do with one proc. Otherwise, we'd be here for an eternity. We're going to go ahead and let Null slam his sword down. There we go. Now we can get him. So 5, 4. So about 3 bars of damage. We did about a little over 3 bars. Now let's see what he does with the Dawn of X uniform. Okay. Now here, you want to do 3, cancel 4, cancel 5. Because there's no all defense down being applied here, you'll actually do more damage putting the proc on the 5. I tested it over and over, and honestly, it's a lot easier too. Especially against Null. So we're just going to wait. We're going to wait. We're going to let him slam his hammer down. That way we don't get interrupted. And here we go. I mean, it isn't there, guys. It isn't there. Okay, come on, come on, come on, come on. I mean, the damage just isn't there. This is really the thing that's so depressing. We'll go ahead and let him get caught. No big deal. He's not going to die. I mean, we don't have to worry about that, but this is really where I was really hoping that Deadpool was going to shine. I was hoping he was going to be a Null destroyer, but unfortunately, he isn't. He's the same, or actually worse, really, for Null compared to the Holiday Deadpool uniform. Now, the good thing about this is, all of you that bought the Holiday Deadpool uniform, you don't need to buy this. Unless you just love Deadpool and you want to try to make him useful in PvP, that's the only way I could see queuing this up. But if you're wanting to buy this for Null, no. And if you don't have the Holiday uniform, for some reason you don't have that uniform, then yes, I would buy this thing because it is going to be leaps and bounds better than what you already have. That's a guarantee. It's the only other uniform that does have the 80% all defense down that can be built up to 100% when you have the right debuff effect leadership. But he just, I mean, he don't get it done, guys. This is bad. I mean, one support, stage 2, especially after we did Cable and saw what he could do. Deadpool's just lacking big time. And we're already 2 minutes into this fight. And yes, I'm not playing super aggressive, but really we should be doing more damage than this. I mean, this is taking forever. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm not impressed at all with Deadpool against Null at all. And you know, it just sucks. You know, we call this Marvel Null fight for a reason. That is where our main resources are at. That is where we're trying to get the most CCF. You know, you want to play Null 5 times a day to get more CCF every single day. Because they're not doing it for the other world bosses. They're not giving guaranteed CCF in the other world bosses. Now, for those of you that are newer players or moderate players, and you don't have the Holiday Deadpool uniform, yeah, you should absolutely buy this thing. It will be monstrous for you. But if you have the Holiday Deadpool uniform, and you don't care about the aesthetics, and you don't care about maybe trying to make them work in PvP, then I would say don't buy this. If you want to try to make them work in PvP, then I would say it's an absolute. Because he does have this, I mean, this is a sweet skill, you know, having ignore iframe on a 3.5 second cooldown. That's a sweet skill. He has long animation, long iframe on his 5 and 4. Like I said, he can get some kills. He can definitely put in some work. I mean, if you're one of those players that likes to manually play, he can definitely put in work. And this is going to be the best uniform for him for PvP. But for PvE, the Holiday Deadpool uniform, in my opinion, is still Kingdom Come. By the way, guys, if you're going to play this character in PvE, a rage will be better because I showed y'all, at least against the regular world bosses, because I showed you that doing the 3, cancel 5, delay, cancel 4 is better in the regular world bosses. And because you have to land hits on that 5, sometimes the proc will trigger on the 5 and just be better to have a rage. So again, the Holiday Deadpool uniform is just better because you can just use a regular proc much easier than you can with this. Now, obviously, if you just play 3-4-5, 3-4-5, 3-4-5, and you're running around all over the place, then playing with a proc with this uniform will be easy. But you're going to be running around for a long time with this long a cooldown. That is just insane. I really wish they wouldn't have put such a long cooldown. I wish you could cancel the 5 and get all the residual damage. It'd been so cool if you could have done the 5, and then the car just drives around you over and over and over while you're doing your 4. That would have been insane. But again, you know, I guess the bright side of this is if you have the Holiday Deadpool uniform, you don't need to spend your crystals on this. But I'm actually very disappointed with this uniform. I think it's more difficult to play if you're trying to play it optimally against the regular world bosses, unless you have a rage on him. And his damage output just isn't what it should be. You know, with the support, doing stage 2, even without crafted cards, you should be able to get a clear. And Deadpool is lacking something fierce. So let me know how you're all feeling about Deadpool, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one.